The Monster is a film starring Zoe Kazan as a mother. She's a bit of a deadbeat. She is has a daughter, divorced, and her husband has the other daughter. And she's supposed to drive over there and pick her up to go to a play. But she gets into a fight with her daughter, and they drive away. And they basically, during a rainstorm, they damage the car because they run into a wolf. So the car's damaged, she's injured, she calls for help, and there's something in the woods with them, something terrible and dangerous, a monster. So the monster attacks the tow truck driver and traps them in their car, and they have to find a way to get out. So this movie is written and directed by Brian Bertino. If you're unfamiliar with him, he did The Strangers. He wrote that movie in 2008. It was a really big hit. I personally didn't really like that movie that much. It's okay. But this movie, honestly, didn't really work. It's just a simple monster movie, but the movie tries to throw in some flashbacks, and they really emphasize that Zoe Kazan's character is a bit of a deadbeat mom. She drinks a lot. She isn't a good mom. Her daughter hates her. Other daughter hates her. And they keep playing up this sort of like fractured relationship between mother and daughter, but it doesn't really have anything to do with their current situation. It's the equivalent of having like zombies show up and then you keep having flashbacks of the main character being alcoholic, but it has nothing to do with the current situation of how they're going to get out. So the movie feels a little disjointed in that way because it feels like it's trying to elevate itself. It's trying to be like the new Babadook by having this like dreary, realistic backstory for the characters, but it doesn't have anything to do with the current situation of a monster trying to eat them. So it feels really weird in that regard, but also feels like it's trying to elevate itself. So it comes off as a little pretentious because it's like, oh yeah, these are flawed characters, but it has nothing to do with the monster. And of course, the third act is also the weakest part of the movie because characters do stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's no thematic sort of there's no thematic cohesion at the end of the movie, and so all of that build up with the flashbacks and everything, and the mother not being fit enough, doesn't really play into the finale of the movie. So what's the point of having all that stuff there? What's the point of having all this character work put in there if it doesn't have anything to do or it's not paid off later? So that subplot or that B plot or whatever isn't really focused on at the end, and it doesn't really matter. So the monster, has some pretty cool effects. The monster itself looks pretty cool, but I almost feel like that he wrote a monster movie and then said, hey, let's make the monster a metaphor or something. No, they didn't have that. So they just said, let's make the mom a deadbeat. And then they just went from there. And didn't really do anything. So this movie, has some cool creature effects, but I don't quite enjoy it. So I give The Monster a 5 out of 10.